Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Golden Shower Sunday stream.
Woo!
Oh, God, November
November
6th. How is it
2022.
November 6th?
I don't know. We were just talking about Childerberg a few months ago, and here we are in November.
Oh, my God. I'm here with Hex, and
What's
our
up?
guest today is Pinochet Rose from Twitter. I think that's where most people are going to know you from, unless
Yeah.
they've met you in real life. But
Yep.
so I don't know. You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hey, I'm Rose. Everyone's favorite or hated helicopter. All I talk about are, theories of power and, the rise. And I have the best situational awareness to do it because, I've run businesses, I've created frameworks. I've been a consultant and I've done my own thing, whereas everyone just lives in the real world, or rather online, thinking it's the real world. That's why I like you guys. You guys are my people.
No, I haven't been on Twitter to see all the fighting lately. So is everybody still just fighting?
I mean, you know how it is. You know how it is. Like people without any morals, without any sort of, I guess, value system are like, oh my God, Rose is so awful because she has preferences. It's like, well, that's power. And I would love to take over your non-preferential system, and I'll probably do it.
Right.
Acquisitions is how, I mean, I'm a capitalist first and foremost, right?
Yeah, I think that's how we connected once on a space too, because we were talking about real estate, especially, and just like
Yes.
how
Yes.
important it is. The free
It,
markets. We're like the commies, these fucking commies out here who like hate anybody who has anything. And just stupid.
It is. It is. And I mean, you understand, right? Real estate, right? Private property, like the values and valuations of private property. This is exactly why, we started off like a base understanding between, both of you. And then it kind of just like, unfurls and all these like really nice, fuzzy humanistic elements just come through, and you build friendships like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you went to Childerberg the last 2 years or just this last year?
No, the last 2 years. I know it was running for 3 years. Last 2 years I was there, met so many great people, had so many wonderful interactions. And, I can't wait for a similar situation and setup. And I think more festivals like Childerberg should definitely spawn off. But I do foresee some problems. And, those are, you can't have so many different clashing ideologies. You have you have postmodernists and, those like neo commies who LARP as ANCAPs, which is hysterical. And then you have, ANCAPs and people with principle who definitely have their base sets of morality. And that's us. And that's why we get along.
Well, and hopefully, like at those events, people are just getting along anyways, and not like. I mean, I don't know how it is. Hopefully, people aren't like, "No, I'm ANCAP Peerley. You can't talk to me or come to my
This
fire."
is
But I
Cap
don't know.
country.
No, it was definitely not like that. It was warm and it was inviting, and I love Childerberg again. I've met so many wonderful people. Like one of my good friends in Texas, Wendell. I'm giving him a shout out. I think his Twitter handle is like Willie Go Pew. He's wonderful. My girl Rachel, who's like Office of Existential Management, right? Then there's Pete, and so many others. And it's just, it's the closeness and the bonds you form just on having interactions and showing them what you're about, who you're about. And I always say I have the best friends.
Yeah.
And that's
So that
important.
was like we all say, like the silver lining this last year was. I mean, even as dumb as Twitter is, it really brought a lot of people who were. I wasn't aware so much about the libertarian or liberty or anything stuff, so it did
Mhm.
help like open up those doors and just like, oh yeah, there's people who are kind of along the same like thing with me. They're not just listening to their Facebook friends tell me I'm alt right and all this shit or whatever. Like everything went so sideways over the last few years.
Right, right. Oh, did you see that new article that was like, we must forgive the
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
COVIDians?
the
I
amnesty
was
bullshit.
like, yeah, yeah, you got, I mean, Hex, you're on Twitter. You saw that. I was like, no, we
Yeah, I
absolutely
think
must
that's
annihilate
about
these people. Nah.
Yeah, I saw it. Someone sent it to me early on, and I, of course, I'm not on Twitter, so I'm gonna post it. I posted it in my Discord, but I made a really cool ass shot, and it says "Kiss my am nasty." Like,
That's right. You're like with a sparkler.
it was such a cool picture too. But like, but you have to like release those things as shit happens. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. It sucks that you're not on Twitter. I hate it. I'm like, what if I make her an account and like, well, not link it to mine, but kind of like one of my accounts. I
It
figured,
doesn't. We tried that basically.
Yeah,
So
we've tried.
Paul, yeah, Paul made like a whole nother account for me, and I'd only accessed it through my computer on a VPN. And they still, I think someone was reporting because when that one got pulled, the email was like I hadn't even been really using it because I was on vacation,
right.
and like a day after I had even made anything on it, it was like I got banned for liking too or friending too many people. There's like 3 things. And I'm like, I haven't even been using it. So I think I had some reporters and shit. So whatevs. We'll see
Or
what
if you Twitter
happens.
hate us.
I'm
There's all
Yeah.
not. So,
everybody.
all right. There's one thing I do want to talk about, and I think this is the best crew to talk about it with, right? A lot of the people on our side or on the quote unquote right, obviously not alt right, not far right, not white supremacists that we are. No, but a lot of people on the right are like, oh, Elon will save us. Elon loves us. And, we're going to get comedy and free speech back. And I'm reading this and I'm like, well, wishful thinking. Of course, I'd love to see my friends back on Twitter, right? You and so many others. But I was like, Elon's not going to do this.
Right.
And, right, like, why would you think that? The man has enough resources to control a small island. Again, that's not a problem, but, he still is a welfare queen. Let's call that out. Why do you think he cares about your free speech? He cares about his own, right? Like the
Right.
man gets it.
Yeah, I don't like the savior complex on him at all. Especially he's talked about putting shit in our brains, which some
Yeah.
people are for, some people are against. But I'm like, no,
No.
I don't want that shit in my brain because we all know as everything in life happens, it'll be voluntary till it's not, and then it's just like vaccines or whatever. Like they always push shit, and then so eventually they're gonna be like, yeah, these people are just choosing to put this shit in their brain, and then like a year later they're gonna be like, oh, you have to put this in your brain if you want to pay your bills, or that's just the way it'll go. So I definitely don't trust them like that. I'm like, if I do get one of my accounts back, that'd be really cool. But other than that, he
We're
ain't no
pulling for that
savior.
one. Yeah. I mean, I'm pulling for you. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd love to get you back on Twitter. But I think everything I've seen, it's like, oh, we're not reinstituting old accounts, right? And then like the whole widespread, like, misinformation. No, Elon will totally do this. Like, what is the point? See, the problem is most people don't approach a situation from like a logical or a business standpoint. What is his business standpoint? Like, how is it going to be advantageous? Now, if there was some sort of metric on, okay, well, a lot of these accounts like, had, or like there's a lot of like revenue and eyes on this account, and this can be like, marketing thing, then yes, he will definitely, reinstate. But if it's just like people providing their bullshit beliefs, I don't know how viable that would be.
Yeah. I don't know. And then like everyone's saying, because I've just seen how like, all those advertisers were pulling out supposedly because they don't like Elon. But I'm like, no, they're pulling out because they realize they were advertising to bots and shit.
Yeah.
They're just gonna say that for their ESG scores. And it's just so silly. It's all just so stupid. It makes like there's so many people banned, like in the Discord, everyone's like, yeah, I'm banned. Everyone's banned. And like none of us were terrible people. So
No, you guys were the best people.
if they don't want us there, then fuck them.
That's what I said. See, that's what I said. I would totally go on the Discord. I'm just, like a little burned
I'm
out.
terrible at it. I'm like a boomer. I'm like, what the hell? It's hard.
Well, it's not that it's hard, right? Like we're just so used to like one type of platform and having this one type of dynamic. And the great thing about Discord is like it's all of our people, right? Like it's all of our friends and fam, and like we want to interact with everyone. And then you start interacting with everyone, you're like, fuck, 10 hours later, I'm caught up. And doing this over and over again definitely leads to burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
oh, go ahead.
Like on Twitter, right? It's okay, I'll see your posts, like, and we used to engage and interact a lot, like, but sometimes I don't see your posts. Like Hex and I are friends on Twitter, but I don't often see his stuff. So like, it's like a come and go method. But here It's like, oh, well, you have this many notifications and it's from all the people you like and it's from all your friends on all the channels. It is too much. So you're not a boomer. It's just not for you.
I like this whole, especially because I got off Facebook and everything, and I hadn't been using my Instagram much. And I was like, I'd be fine just using Twitter because I do like, we all know, like, Twitter, you get the news faster. You get the news and you get the actual news faster because you get multiple people posting shit right away, and
Right.
you can always like look through stuff and find stuff out. And then like, and you have, even if they're fake bots or whatever, they're like, it is nice to see what the other people are thinking. It was just such a good balance of like people I agreed with and people I didn't agree with and all this. And then
Right.
when they took it from me on my appeals, I've been like, I'm a woman, and because I would get some money off of there and stuff, I'm like, I'm a woman and you took away my income.
My earning power.
Yeah.
You took away my
I should have said I was
power.
LGBT or something, but like, it's just
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah, but isn't that what leftists do? Take away your earning power?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
On brand.
And then they'll be like, capitalists are evil, but they'll like happily just take away everything. It's so obvious. Like,
So I don't know, like the best way to troll leftists is just like make ridiculous claims and just lose them in your ridiculous claims. So like when my friends and I were in Colorado, remember back in February, we were driving like to our Airbnb, like up the hill, and then we see some hills like that have trees and others that don't. And I was like, guys, what if we tell the commies we defeated capitalism because some trees are on the mounds, right? And some aren't. They're like, what? I was like, no, just go with it and just say dumb, ridiculous things. And then go to a bar, see some leftists and be like, yeah, the trees conquered capitalism, and watch them repeat the same shit. And then you'll have a bunch of leftists that say, yeah, we conquered capitalism because there are no more skiing like trips because there are no more trees on the mounds. And again, like the problem is it's assertion without having any sort of like backing rhetoric. And that's why we hate the left.
Yep.
And that's why we told them.
Well, and they all want to steal from us. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I see how they like say, oh, capitalists keep us from entry, which we all not know. It's the fucking government that makes everything hard into entry.
Right.
But then they're like, in their mind, yeah, we'll just steal everything from everybody and then hand it back out. Like, how can you think that in your mind that like that's okay? Like, there's just no, I don't get it. I don't get how they don't get that quite. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll steal all your, how about I just steal all your shit and I'll give it back to you and your friends equally right now. I mean, you wouldn't mind that, right? But they're retarded.
They're like, well, I'm standing for a greater good. No, you're not. No, you're not.
And for globalism. Let's be real.
Shit. Rose, I know you were working on that. Like, you were working on a business or like
Yes.
you had a conference or something at one point, didn't you? Or you were trying to put something together?
Well, yeah, no, like I mean, I do a lot. So I used to have my own crypto company, and like we ended up selling that, but that was a lot of fun. But my friend Rachel and I, Office of Existential Management, and I sent you our initial write-up, and so we're having some investors look at it. But one thing that I'm always about is community building. And I think like I love Twitter for it, right? I enjoy social media for it because it allows me to connect to people with whom I would normally not connect with otherwise. So when you look at like current societal problems, right? Like Hex just said, globalism, right? It's really like the disintegration of not just the family unit, but like the connectivity. And they want you miserable, they want you depressed, they want to just take away all the facets of life. So how do we revert that? How do we fix that? And I was like, well, finding adequate partnership and kind of going on the route of self-improvement. And we don't see that nowadays at all. So kind of trying to build a matchmaking course because, again, like I said, very good with frameworking, understanding dynamics, people, like social interactions, and parsing things out like with organization structures. And most people don't want to hear it, but people very much, can commodify themselves because everything is a market. You're buying things on the market. And if that's not your target audience, you don't have to go there. You can just do something else. But the rules to engagement are pretty much the same. So when Rachel and I wanted to do our matchmaking course, we kind of want to do it with so much more. It's like, let's bring in like this Hoppian mindset of like small centralized communities and people with with the same mindsets of what we want to do and how we want to push it forward. And once you get that right, it's easier to kind of build and develop political communities and organizations about that. And I know you know all about that because I seen your like circles. I think Robbie the Fire came out to see you.
Yeah, we're pretty big. There's Colorado in general is just, there's a lot of people out here. And like, again, thank God I found them all during Twitter. I'm going to be taking on the role of, I'm going to be like the Mises Caucus Colorado State organizer. So I'm going to be starting to transition into that role here pretty
That's awesome.
soon. Yeah, I get a little more in it. I'm like, well, good. Because I'm not on Twitter. So I have all this time now, right? So I'm like, and I'm like, the guy who was doing it, he did an amazing job. He's like the coolest dude ever. But I think he did between, like with the convention and all that, just burned out because it was they were working really hard to get that shit done by for Reno and stuff. So I think he just burned out and tired. And I'm like, well, I can jump in and help. And so, and obviously I am kind of like rah shish kambah, let's go do stuff, like everyone excited to do stuff. And so that'll be a fun thing to do. So I should have been more involved anyway. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So it'll be fun. Yeah. And even Hex has got a big community out in Cleveland too. They all met up basically off of Twitter.
Shit, I didn't know you were in Cleveland, Hex.
Yep. Born and raised here.
Oh, damn.
Ohio is real. I went and visited them. So it is real.
She was out here like back in September.
Yep. Met my peeps out there. It was a good time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know you're real, so how are you in Cleveland?
There's a whole bunch of them there. So I guess, I'm like, it's real. I was there. I flew in.
I love that. I think there's a lot to be said about meeting your Twitter, Facebook, social media friends in person, right? Like if you're not happy with your social setting, create a new one, right? Like these are literally the rules to power. And this is how you overcome misery and depression and don't put yourself on, fucking government issued pharmaceuticals, right? We have all the facets without, needing external help just to get yourself back on the better track. And a lot of the times it's just this, right? Like social engagement, interaction, going out with people that you like, people you can align with and saying, let's like tear shit up, right? Whether it's like, starting shit at a basketball game, but LeBron's no longer there. So I'd love to come see you and like shit talk LeBron X. If he ever comes back, we're going to a basketball game. I'm wearing a Celtics jersey and we're doing this. But
you just light it on fire in the middle of the game.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is the type of energy you need from your friends.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like people from this thing too, that people kind of get the idea of voluntary association too. Because you're gonna meet people sometimes, you're like, yeah, we don't vibe or whatever,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be an issue. Like in the 2 years I was organizing parties at my house during COVID, it was all strangers basically that I was inviting over, and I literally, I don't know how many people total. There's probably been come and go, maybe 50 to 60 people through that time period. And I only had a problem with like one person, who was an idiot and rude. So it's like there are, and not that I still see all those people either. Like we just, whoever wants to come. Although since I've been banned, my Colorado group hasn't really been talking to me, but that's all right. Like I'm going to give them all a shit talk. I've got to text them all and shit talk them later. But
good.
Yeah, it's just really nice to be able to meet people, especially because a lot of us had with the COVID shit, so many friends that just like people I thought I knew, like even people in alternative lifestyles, everything. And they were just like, nope, fully on board with that shit. And now they're ones asking for amnesty. Like I've been just like going crazy on my Instagram lately. And I know some people are, but I'm like, no, you don't get grace. Sorry. Like you didn't give us any grace. You gave us no grace. So what? Like, and you've like, they told the line of wanting to ban a certain part of the population from society. Like you can't just do that. Like that is very evil. It's fine in a voluntary association, community way, right? You can
Right.
pick and choose. But when you use the state, when you're trying to get the state to do it,
Yep.
and then you think you're okay just doing it, I'm just like, no, that we
Right.
didn't give me grace, so I ain't giving no fucking grace. I'm getting pissed. Like, I'm just getting louder and more pissed. I've always been like a nice, go along, get along person. If I don't like, I don't cause problems. But now I'm like, like, there's going to be some problems now.
There need to be consequences, and I'm gonna make sure you get them.
Thank you. Exactly. That's the way I like to live my life, right? There's nothing wrong. Like, see, here's the thing. If you're my people, like I love my people. I'll do anything for my friends, right? I mean, like that's very self-evident. Like I believe in loyalty. That's my number one thing. But when, when we're together based on like a set of, principles, right? Solid principles, no masks, right? Like let's go back to that COVID shit. And then I see people are like, yeah, fuck masks and fuck vaccines. But you know what? Like, I'm totally going to wear one. I'm totally going to get a vaccine because like work asked for it. I was like, no, you're a fucking LARPer. And it's important to call people out. I don't care how cute and happy and, fun they are. No, principles fucking matter. And that's why we have such a hard time in this world. And that's why like everything that the way we knew the world just completely broke and fizzled out. And yeah, that's why you should be like, fuck you. No grace, no amnesty, nothing. You don't deserve it.
Kiss my amnesty. No, like, yeah, they're sorry. Like, and that's why I think, and someone asked me, yeah, Joe, and let me shout out everyone in the chat real quick. Hey, JVP, I saw Trippy, CC. Well, Alice was here earlier. What was I just gonna say? Shit. Totally God damn it. I don't know. We can keep talking about that. Oh, so I had another friend who, like, his family really heard him over, and he's like, you really seem like your feelings were hurt. And I was like, yeah, the volunteer group I volunteer for literally discriminated against me. Like, how did that not hurt? So how can that not hurt someone's feelings? And so now I'm like, listen, what we all need to be doing is finding businesses. Anybody who discriminated should be like called out, a business, because technically the government didn't actually take that next step to force these businesses that made the decision, right? All these businesses were like, oh, we're going to do vaccine or you're fired, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they'll be able to say, the government's able to say, oh, well, we didn't make them do that, but like, they did. It's just like the government knows how exactly what to do to like kind of get out of it. But I don't know. Everyone needs to call them. But I'm like, every charity, if someone gives money away, call them up and find out exactly what they're like, what they were doing during that time. Because like, I will never give a dime to anyone or my time because I love volunteering. Like, I will not give it anymore to anybody who fell into that shit. Like, and I asked for I asked for an apology recently. I emailed back. It happened in October 2021 after I gave them like $2,000 and volunteer time. And then they're like, no, you can't come to the meeting. Right. So I emailed them recently. I'm like, hey, now that everything's that we were saying was right is actually public now, can I get just an apology? And they're like, well, we were just doing what was, acting off the information at the time. And I'm like, okay, I right away emailed back and I'm like, whenever in history has the information at the time ever justified genocide or like treating people bad or like discrimination? It's never justified it. So it's like, we're just in the cycle with humanity, I guess, where they just, well, and I'm like, but look at history. No, they said, oh yeah, the Jews had types or what they always said they had from lice and stuff. They would say they're diseased. They started with that. They started with all this stuff, and it's like those idiots back then believed it. And these people, they literally were believing this shit that if you didn't get vaccinated, you were gonna like kill them or some like. I don't even know anymore. It's so bizarre. It's
well, here's the thing. Sorry, Hex, go ahead. Because you haven't even been talking. No, go ahead.
No, she said, people thought they were going to die if they were in contact with someone who wasn't vaccinated, which is kind of dumb because it's like, well, you're just admitting that the vaccine didn't work, is what you're telling me, right?
It's like, I don't want your viral shedding on me. Get away from me. Actually, you're the problem. So 2 things about your rant, Forest Mommy. So like one, I don't know how it was in Colorado, but I know like in New York, because, like those are my stomping grounds. I mean, I live in Texas now, but like I'm a New Yorker through and through. Like my ex had to get vaccinated. Otherwise, he was going to lose his job. And if he was going to lose his job, he was going to lose like his apartment where, you know, like it was mortgaged out. And what are you going to like walk away from 650K? You know, like, yeah, for principles, you know, it's just not feasible. You don't want to be homeless.
Or kids, they like really pressure people. Have kids, yeah, feed your kids, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna fire you."
Yeah. So he unfortunately had to take the vax, and like it caused so much strife, you know, between the both of us. Like we're still very good friends, but you know, I begged him because I've known him for 20 years. I was like, listen, I just want you healthy and safe, and I know that it's going to be a problem. And so like that volunteer group that was like, oh, we were going through the information at the time. Bull fucking shit. Because when COVID happened, right, I had a project, like it did predictive analysis through like Anaplan that I did with a friend of mine. So we not only predicted the models for COVID, we were accurate. Like we had a 95% accuracy rating. We looked at VARs, all of this alternate like non-mainstream information was out there. So if anyone bothered and dared to check instead of just going by the fucking CNN narrative, they would have seen that it's, you know, you were right. You were in the right. And obviously, you know, all of us were as well. They just didn't want to hurt their narrative. And it's easy not to think. It's easy to say, well, whatever information is being provided to me, I'm good. I'm going to listen to it. Right? Like human thought and analysis on deeper thinking subjects and levels is difficult, which is why you literally have the left. It's like, oh, I love being good, right? And we all love being good, but we understand there's like components to being good and providing like a good structure and sphere. They're like, nah, we're just going to be good. We're just going to like steal your money and give it to the poor.
Yeah, just say they're good. Like, especially like environmental issues, which that's what this group was. And like all these people were like, oh, save the environment. I'm like, you know, you can literally go outside your house and pick up trash. And that's doing more than anything you're gonna say on social media. Like these people, if they're so like, it's just the slogans and the very surface level stuff. Like it's like they just, oh, we think this, defund the police, blah blah blah, Black Lives Matter, well, you know, and it's just like they don't take that next step of thought, and they can't obviously because they were so easily controlled. I feel like if someone can be that controlled by the brainwashing that happened over the last years in this day and age, like you don't even like the NPC thing really is real, it seems like, for them. I don't know. Just
in the age of the internet, you are not allowed to be so fucking stupid. That's what I say. You know, it's, and then, all right, let's talk about NPCs, right? Like, so I think I had an like a interaction with one of my Twitter followers. I don't remember who, but we're talking about like bot accounts, and someone said, you know, Rose, like I have never met a person with like pronouns, like the pronouns and profile people in person. And again, this person, if they follow me, they're probably not like city people because, you know, like being super red pilled and in the city is kind of rare. But I do know what he's saying. Like even coming from New York City, and granted, I left in 2020 and I left for a reason. And I know these psychopaths exist, certainly. But like in the troves, we see them online. I was like, no, they're probably bots. And there's a lot to be said about that. And then the other half is, oh, we see these like, you know, virtue signaling accounts and we love it. So what are we going to do? We're going to do the same thing. And it's like, these are people without like an internal dialogue, right? That's how you can indicate an NPC.
Yeah, then like they brag about that now too. They're like, oh, I don't have an internal dialogue. It's like, bitch, that means you don't think. That means you literally are able to just like be guided by that moment, whatever's being told. Like, there's just no, and they're like, but they like think they're all cool and quirky. Yeah, I don't have an internal dialogue, and I'm like, okay, that's scary. Like, that's frightening to me that you don't.
Right, that it's not a flex. It's not the flex you think it is. You're admitting you're a fucking idiot, and so everything you say past this point, I'm going to discount because you are a one-dimensional motherfucker.
Yeah, but in the pronoun stuff too, I know I had some friends, you know, they work for some corporations. All the corporations were making them put it, they were making them put it into their like email signatures and stuff. And they're like, they have no, what? I'm a woman or whatever, you know, they're like, I don't, you know, it's all part of the ESG stuff too, but it's like, it was interesting seeing people like question that because I saw other people like it's like so dumb. It is like the dumbest. Like, get a personality. If you have a personality, you're not fucking. You don't care about pronouns.
No.
I'm sorry. Anyone with like a good personality, they're not talking about their fucking pronouns, and that's just facts.
Right, because they have nothing to fall back on. I mean, it's so easy to be like, oh, my pronouns are made up shit that I'm going to make you conform to. But again, think about it, right? It goes back to our early conversation. It's just dynamics of power, right? So like if I want to refer to you, I'd be like, hey, my girl, Forest Mommy, right? Well, whatever. She is awesome, right? Like my boy Hex, blah, blah, blah. He is my favorite white supremacist. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. Right. But we have understood that like these pronouns are for certain people, right? Like this is just kind of delegated into language. Now, if you say Zer and Zim and, I don't know, Tooth Fairy, Sea Sprite, Wolf, Pixie, whatever, as a new pronoun, you're forcing your adaptation upon somebody else's culture. And within that, internal like perspective, that's kind of like a reach for power. So you got to like best them at their game. Be like, nah, my pronouns are like attack helicopter or like your fucking majesty or fuck you. You know what I mean?
Fuck around, find out.
Hex, those are definitely your pronouns.
Yeah, it is like it is their like and it's just them trying to have some sort of like hierarchy over someone else, and it's like, no, there's nothing. That's not like, how people used to be like, oh, you need to call me Mr. or Mrs. whatever. Like, I feel like it's along those lines, but to the stupidest degree absolutely possible. Why are you forcing other people to say the shit anyways? That's just like authoritarian. Like, it's just terrible. And they like we got all these people who have literally no skills, literally nothing to fall back on, nothing. But they're like, but I'm, I think and talk about my pronouns all day, every day. And this is why I'm like, I love the liberty movement to go back to homesteading and shit. Cause I'm like, if these kids were fucking having to grow their own food or help their parents out on the farm, they're not fucking talking about their pronouns. Like, it's just, we need to go back to that because obviously, but then they're like, oh, you shouldn't have to work 3 jobs a day. And I'm like, well, if you're a farmer and sustaining yourself, says what you're doing like 20 jobs in a day on your farm, to keep your life going and shit. And I don't know. I feel like such an old fogey, but it's like, it's so dumb. It is so stupid.
You know who would agree with you? The great Uncle Ted.
Somebody just messaged me the other day, like on my Instagram, who I hadn't really talked to, and they're like, what do you think of Ted Kaczynski? And I'm like, based.
I love that man. I'm sorry. Anyone who has not read his manifesto, I will fucking personally go on a Twitter space. I will make an account for Forest Mommy and we will read that shit together. It is so true. The amount, right? Like the truthfulness in that manifesto, right? It just rings true, right? Like the over socialization aspects, the improper socialization, right? Like the technology, the surrogate activities, right? Like you are fucking depressed, not because you're working 3 jobs, but because you are granted everything and you're not working hard enough. You're like, what is it, like the amount of like calories you can get for such a small amount of like exerted effort has never been easier in history, right? So like you want a steak, I don't know, you go to the supermarket, get it for I don't know what, like $12, $15. Before, right, just like you said, you had to have 8,000 jobs to just get a steak, and that's just procuring the meat. Yeah, right. But you have to work for it.
Can't tell the commies that though, because they think everyone else just works and then they just don't have to work. Somehow with no one working hard, you'll be able to eat and shit. It's so dumb. It's such slavery. They literally want slaves, but they won't say it. Like, they just don't say it. Hey, farms. Oh yeah, Secret Asian man. He doesn't see the radical gender identity surviving to this extreme, but hopefully the gender affirming shit. Yeah, the stuff with kids, like, get the fuck out of here with that shit, people. I do not understand. If some weirdo teacher talked to me about my fucking genitals and my gender, I would want to punch him in the face for making me feel awkward and weird.
Yep.
So like, what I know it's all this too, and a lot of people think it's just like pedophilia is everywhere. It is everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And the reason it is so open now, I think, is because it was so, people have people in their family doing it and they won't say shit. Every time I say something about that on Twitter or wherever, people are like, oh yeah, my uncle was abusing me forever. My mom knew, nobody did anything. And it's like, so that's where I feel it's just built upon. Not most, but a lot of people become, you know, bad from it because they don't, and if no one told them no. And then, yeah, now we have all these fucking teachers being weird. And then, like, I was talking on a voice chat last night on Discord. It is hard because the way our life is and how we think we have to live, people think they have to send their kids to public school. So then I'm like, these teachers are saying that they're like predators. They're openly saying they're predators here. So why are we sending our kids there? And then people are like, well, I feel like I have to send my kids there. It's just a hard. I don't know, man.
Well, the argument, this is why, taxation is quite literally subjugation. So they're like, well, my property taxes, right? Like, I'm a property owner in several states. My property taxes go towards public schools. Now, I happen to own property in like one of the most basest states, definitely. Like, I mean, I wish Texas was as base of a state as it should be. Not, right? Wyoming definitely is. And like a small portion of my property taxes goes towards the schools. But I'm looking at like what the school is doing. I'm looking at what the curriculum's offering. And it's none of this like gender bending fucking nonsense, right? Like no pedophilia. I was like, okay, cool. And I know that like fuck the government, but like the DOD just moved there, and like you're going to have more families with like conservative values. And even though they're going through the school system is kind of right under their thumb. So if they start talking about like cultural Marxism in any way, the parents are going to be like, I'm gonna come to school, I'm gonna kill you. Like, don't fuck with my kids and the cultural like identity that we're bringing up.
Hey, Justin, by the way. Yeah, that is, I mean, it is hard because if you have exes, I mean, there's a lot of people with the vaccine and exes and their kids, and like there's a lot where the exes were forcing the kids to get the vaccine, and they're just like, it's so difficult. It is sad. But yeah, and guess what? The stuff you learn outside of school is the actual shit you need to know. Like that's what I'm like, okay, you like I had a dumbass tell me, oh, I didn't go to college, so I couldn't review the data from COVID. This was way early on. But then I'm like, yeah, and then this motherfucker, he has 2 baby mamas, no money, living with his parents. So I'm like, let's talk about analyzing data. Okay, buddy. Like, look at my life, look at your life. Who analyzes data correctly and incorrectly for affects other people? Like,
wow.
I just hate I hate that shit, man. Like,
you're like, appeal from authority, go get fucked. Go get wrecked.
Yeah,
and he's ugly. I should have told him he's ugly.
Degree. Yeah, that doesn't mean that your opinion is not trash.
No. And he doesn't know anything about life. He doesn't even know how to, like, these kids, that was something I would hope during the whole shutdown is that kids actually saw, hey, this is how I clean my bathroom, because a lot of parents don't fucking make their kids do shit anymore. So I'm like, maybe they could pick up, but I don't even know if that happened. But that's like the important stuff, the stuff that happens outside school. Sure, you went to college, all this shit, but do you know this or that? Oh yeah. And then I'm like, every time I open up Instagram, oh, register to vote. I'm like, so all these years of public school, people didn't learn to register to vote. And we need a fucking like technology to tell us to vote. So like, how much more money do public school teachers need so that they'll teach kids that they can vote or whatever? It's like, it's just frustrating. I don't have any kids either, so I can bitch about it all I want. So
no, you could bitch about it whether you had kids or not. It's a great viewpoint also, right? Like, I think schools should just start teaching how democracy is just a form of communism and needs to be eradicated. Oh man.
Do you want to destroy democracy? That's
yes.
All this, I love. Yes. I'm like, all of us are kind of like, oh yeah, like.
There's this clip going around. This Middle Eastern dude. He goes, "Democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people, but the people are retarded." they need to hire that guy.
Yes.
I just love. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, like anytime someone says, "Oh, why do you hate democracy?" Like, I was like, I don't know. Why do you love mob rule? I was like, imagine you have 20 lions and 1 fucking lamb. That's literally democracy.
Yeah. And they're like, anytime like people in power are like, oh, like all these fucking politicians, we need to save democracy. I'm like, the only one who can harm democracy is you. You have the fucking power. You just like want to stay in power. It's not about fucking democracy. You know, like I've tried to tell that to people. I'm like, do it like, because they try to play that on people and like really emotionally, oh, democracy's gonna die, you know, and it's like these motherfuckers have all the power in the world. What the fuck do they care about democracy? They can literally rig everything, make everything work in their way, do whatever the fuck they want, but they're so worried about democracy. Or I saw all the paid actors on Twitter that post shit, which you know they're paid. Like I saw Rob Reiner, which fuck off, Rob Reiner. You made so many good movies. Fuck off with your stupid politics. But he was like, if we vote in Republicans, that's the end of democracy. And I'm like, no, that's literally democracy.
Playing out. You know, it's something I always found funny about these people who care so much about democracy is like, these are the same people who want to abolish the Electoral College. And they want California, or specifically like LA and New York City, to decide the politics at a federal level for forever. And it's like, no, you don't care about democracy, only if they're enforcing your viewpoints and your values. So just be quiet.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, look at California. So like we have Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi, and it's this really incestuous, like interwoven nepotistic structure. I was like, well, democracy quite literally gets rid of merit, which is why I hold the ideas I do. I love merit, right? Anyone who's like, oh, you have this like hard approach towards like ideology. I'm like, yes, because I understand if there's something I can't do, I would rather someone with merit do it. But here's the thing, I'm competent and I know, so I advocate for structures that I'm all about. And like the other funny thing is, right, like with democracy, anything that a politician ever sells to you, be weary. And I think it's good to like understand like the associative realm with people, right? Like learn who others associate with. Do they associate with like a bunch of ANCOMs? Do they associate with a bunch of like fucking polyamorous? Do they associate with like, you know, Antifa? And kind of start building like, you know, I guess like the prototype of these types of people. So whenever I see a politician saying, yeah, we need like globalism and democracy and this and that, and I'm like, okay, hard fact, when when there's advocacy by a politician towards X, it's safe to say let's go towards the inverse and do Y. There's just no other point.
Shit.
Yeah, I agree.
Fuck them. Hex, what are you holding? What are you
right
holding?
now.
Oh, he had a kitty earlier.
Yes, that's awesome. Tell me about that one.
So I got this from my dad. It's a Smith & Wesson police model in 38 special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Single and double action. So, or you can that. I finally got around to cleaning my guns last night, so that's why it's out.
Oh, that's awesome. How often do you clean them?
Not often enough. Well, basically every time every time I go shooting at some point after that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think everyone says not nearly often enough. It's funny. Guns and makeup brushes, right? How often do they clean? Not nearly often enough.
Yeah, I'll start getting some pimples and I'm like, oh shit, I need to clean my brush. Hex, when you were having problems with your bullets, which gun was that?
Oh, for my this guy right here. Again, I was cleaning, and then I was after I finished cleaning this one, I was just cycling the slide like this, just to make sure everything would chamber properly. One of them got caught and pushed the projectile into the casing a bit more, so it rendered it unusable.
Is it the gun, or was it just from the way you were using it? Do you think? Or the bullets, just shit bullets, maybe.
Yeah, probably just shit bullets.
Okay, so like the gun is still okay?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as it's okay. I have a fun gun story.
Hear it.
Ooh, you share.
Well, okay. So it's not mine, but like this is kind of like a good representation or of the men in California. So I was seeing somebody, again, he's a really nice dude, but just definitely not for me. He lived out in California and then he was supposed to move. And so somebody, like one of his friends, was like, hey man, like it's getting shit in California. Here's the gun. You should protect yourself, right? Nothing wrong with that. So like instead of figuring out how to transport, because like I don't think you could ever have too many guns. Like you can have too few guns, you can never have too many, right? And if you have too many, you should maybe buy a bigger house, build a shed for, or a house for your guns, things like that. So he was, well, I was moving and I was leaving California and I just didn't need a gun. So he discarded a gun in like a dumpster.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, what's that? What
That
does a squibbed round mean? I don't know that much. Do you know what that means? Heck, squibbed round.
Like
Oh, that's basically what happened to the bullets that I showed in my Instagram story. And if you try to fire that, there's a good chance that it gets stuck in the middle of the barrel or something.
Okay. That makes sense.
that's my biggest fear, by the way. Like, I know the likelihood of shit like that happening is so incremental, right? It doesn't really happen. You have to like load off like many rounds, probably like not clean your gun, blah blah blah. In my mind, I'm like, this is gonna happen today. It's gonna happen in like 10 rounds.
Well, if you do enough, it's definitely like a statistics thing, right? All the gun people on Twitter, I'd always see like something would happen sometimes, and it is like, but I'm like,
Especially
okay,
with these days, with how far the technology has gone, it's unlikely unless you're buying shit ammo or shit guns.
right. Or you're shitty. Like I know even like if I'm bad at my shooting, I stovetop or stovepipe, whatever. Like I'm like, that's my fucking fault because I'm an idiot. Like I let my hand go up too much or something. So
Yeah, I have that too.
I don't with the 40 cal. I can shoot that one, no problem. But when I'm doing a 9mm, I get that all the time with the Glock. I don't know why. I don't know, maybe with the 40 cal, I just feel more powerful and I'm like, yeah. With the 9mm, I'm like, I don't know.
So
Kill shot.
all right, so like, hold on, let me see.
Uh-oh.
Probably one of the best comments that I read today, and it's very relevant. So like, I have a 48 and I love it, right? Because I have small hands, and like I think like the Sig 365 is kind of like the comparable Sig model to mine, right? And I'm like, I don't know anything about guns. Like I'm a city bitch, right? But I am an enthusiast through and through. So I understand like putting like the guns into your hands and like grip and feel, all that is super important. But when I went shooting like with a friend of mine and he goes, okay, like when you're shooting, you're just like you, Forest Mommy. Like I was going up. So when he took like a photo from the back, I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll make my adjustments. And I've never had anyone do that. But since you mentioned like the 9mm, let me just find it. So it's pretty much the I think like, I don't know, I think it was the FBI. If I can't find the tweet, I'm just going to just say it. I think he said the FBI, even though they saw that like the 9mm were a lot harder for both male and female agents to shoot, right? Like the effectivity rate and like their complaints and like just the way it got shot, everyone was complaining. But they're like, no, we're gonna switch over to the 9mm and have more and more people complain. I'm like, first of all, that's government efficiency. Second of all, I wonder how much, like what there is to it. Like I want to do some more introspection to it. And then here you are telling me, you're like, I have the problem with my 9mm. And I'm like, I have the same problem. Like, there has to be something through this.
Maybe it's a psychological thing. What?
Are you sure that was 9mm? Because that reminded me like there was this shootout in Miami in the 80s where just like two ex-army guys like tried to rob a bank. FBI got involved. They had the shootout, and I guess at the time they were still using like 38 pistols like this and 9mm. And they weren't taking the guys down. So like after that whole incident, they developed 10 millimeter, and they were going to switch to that, but then like when they were doing like the trials or whatever, people were having issues with them because of the recoil. So then through that, that's how 40 Smith and Wesson came to be. So I'm wondering if it's
That's
maybe
awesome.
that.
So I pulled it up. So he says the FBI switched back to a 9mm after a few years ago, after seeing multiple instances of crack slides frames in their duty guns chambered in a 40 cal, and many agents, men and women with smaller hands, were having difficulty controlling recoil and handling. Yeah, there we go. That's what it was.
Yep.
Sorry.
But in the end, it's our own responsibility to be practiced and better, you know, and that's why.
Yeah, I'm going to Arizona for Thanksgiving. My dad lives out there, and we're going shooting while I'm there, which
hell yeah,
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you were supposed to go out there, and you did a little while ago.
I wanted to go out in June for Father's Day, but plane ticket prices were ridiculous at the time for some reason.
Yeah,
so
they're finally coming back down now. I've been looking too. I was like, God, thank God, because it was so expensive for a minute there. It's like free market capitalism right there, right? No, just kidding. I know that.
Those prices are not even like set by airlines, but mostly by taxes and bullshit. Like, talk about dumb efficiency ratings. It's like, oh, here's a 12-hour flight and it's really green, so you should take it. You have like a 12-hour layover. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Have you been playing basketball still down at the rec center?
Hell yeah. So like I'll play at the gym sometimes, but like I'll go, I mean, you know me, like touch grass, be in shape. Like it's good to have hobbies, not surrogate activities, hobbies, right? Like to keep your mind active, fresh, healthy, right? Shit like that. You can't just like tweet all day long, and Lord knows I can, but it's important.
I'm like, it was literally 2 years of me tweeting. So now I'm like, oh shit. But I mean, but it was such an interesting thing where it's like, oh, okay, that's gone. I mean, I have all my shit too, but it was like, man, now I'm like I feel like my brain works differently because I would just scroll and get ideas from things, you know, and put things around in my things would float in my head, and then I'd have these ideas, and like I don't have that anymore. But just, you know, gonna smoke weed and chill at this point because it has been so hard when you think about what's going on. Like we said, like there are people out there who are literally fine with towing the line of like banning people from society. Like that's such a scary thought to have in our head, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like I can't be like terrified every day all day, you know. Like you have to like, it makes it easier to deal with that kind of bullshit if you have something else going on, or you know, whatever. So I'm excited for ski season's coming up now, so that'll be fun. Cause I like to run up during the week and stuff and just go. So, and I haven't like hardly went since COVID happened. So I like went once last year. So I'm like, all right, this is the year I'm getting back into it. Gonna go up all the time. So I'm excited for that.
I might come join you. Well, maybe not for skiing, but for like tubing, because that was so fun in Colorado.
Tubing is so fun.
Yes. Hex, you should join us.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
awesome.
I'm down.
Yeah, because even at Copper Mountain, I mean, because you guys were in Winter Park, I think, when you were
Yes,
here,
yes,
right?
we were in Winter Park. Yeah.
My pass is to Copper, but like they have tubing there too, and I did. It's so fun. Like you're just fucking flying, man. It's so fun. But
Yes.
Winter Park is prettier. I do like Winter Park.
So like the best thing to do is get like 10 people, right? And like, I don't know, connect or hold on to each other's tubes and then just go down. And then like, you know, just perform experiments. You're like, do I go down faster this way? Which way's more dangerous?
That is fun. That's what we need. That's what people need to do to have fun. Like that's the important shit, is having fun. And that's why the whole COVID crap, because I was telling people, they're like, we'll just start going back to all these places. I'm like, okay, first of all the fun shit I like to do, comedy, concerts, my yoga studio. Not all yoga studios fell into it, but mine did. And like all these things that I found fun, dancing, I wasn't allowed to do.
Yeah.
Like I had built my life so perfectly. I do these things when I want to, you know, I just, you know, when you're like, you build your social life exactly how you want it, blah, blah, blah. And then they took it all away from me. They took all my fun away from me. And then they said, and volunteering, and then they said, no, you can't do it. So it's like, what? Like,
Yep.
It's so hard to like get past that because fun is so important in life.
It
They were
is.
just like, "Ah."
I got screwed out of a concert last year, and I'm still kind of salty about that.
Which one?
I like industrial music. There's this band who's kind of been in it for a long time called Frontline Assembly. They were
I know
coming
them.
here. Say what?
I know them. I've seen them.
Really?
I've seen over 2K shows. Hex, you know what? Like I said, I'm always down to meet and chill with my friends all over the internet. I just went to see Wasp, Armored Saint, which I've seen like a million times, and Michael Schenker group like last Friday. So
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah, I made the metal scene. Like, you know what I mean? I love to dance. Like, so shows and shit like that, I'm all about it. I'm gonna see Merciful Fate like in 2 weeks or something.
No, yeah, but yeah, they were coming here last year, and it was like a few days after my birthday last October. So I'm like, okay, cool. I bought the ticket. Then the venue decided to do the vaccine mandate, and I was like, fuck. And then on top of that, they got something happened. The whole lineup to the tour changed, and they got kicked off the ticket. So I'm like,
Oh, that's the worst. I'm sorry, man. Would they like tour again with the same lineup, or are they just done?
no, they ended up doing a different tour with a different lineup, but they didn't end up coming through Cleveland for it.
Well,
so I was like, fuck.
If they ever come to Austin, Texas, I got a spare bedroom for you, boy.
I'm down. You let me know and I'll fly out there.
Yeah, like anytime you see a show. I mean, like when Childerberg was happening, I was like, yo, I was telling Forrest mom, I was like, I have a spare bedroom. Let's try.
Yeah, we should all plan to do Childerberg for sure too.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I think we should just like make events where it's like virtual shooting with Hex. Like, I wish I could go shooting with Hex.
That'd be kind of cool.
Right? It's like, here we are on camera. Hex, how's my position? Rose, why are you retarded? No. Hex goes on. He's like, okay, the way you stand, right? Put your right foot back. Make a stance. Like, has to be 35 degrees. Like, I can see him just giving us all the proper instruction.
Oh, yeah,
I'd rather that than like, because if you do post a picture, like I would never post pictures of me shooting on Twitter half the time because it's like someone's always got to say something. Yeah, come in and be like,
there's this guy from Ohio running for Senate, Democrat. He put up a video of him like outside shooting, and he goes, "Not bad for a Democrat." And this dude's stance was atrocious. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Take this down.
Can you wait? Can you show it to us? Like, can you find this atrocious stance?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Critique the fuck out of it, because this is information and informative, and everyone should know.
yeah. And then I know that people got pulled. There was that other gun ad, but it was for a Republican, but a black guy. Remember, he was like, I say shooting because of the KKK, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's what got Hotep Jesus pulled off of YouTube, was just playing that.
The ad was like, it was this black dude who's in some southern state, Republican, doing like a pro-gun ad. And he goes, why do you need an AR-15? In case a Democrat tries to come in and like burn your house down or something. And then like the ad is like,
I remember
him with an AR-15, and they had dudes dressed up in Klan uniforms. And then like they ran off when they saw him with the gun. And when I saw it, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen today. And then, of course, you got these fucking liberals going on about how Republicans are racist Klansmen. And I'm like, it was Democrats who started the Klan. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nuts. And they want everyone to be so scared of these. They're like, oh, the white supremacists. Okay, well, let's have guns so we can go after them. No, can't do that. You can't protect yourself.
Oh, I posted the link in private chat.
Can we stream it?
Yeah,
he'll pull it up.
Okay. I want to hear Hex's like absolute summation of this guy's technique, stance, and everything.
I'm gonna make fun of him. Not that I like have room to judge, but
it's okay. We do other things really well.
He's got it. He's gonna put it up. There we go.
What is that?
Not bad for a Democrat.
How dumb! What a dumb, like, why be tribal? Why be tribal about that? Why be like, not bad for someone who wants to defend myself because that's what's important? Like, it's just so stupid. Fucking
Now,
hate
when you're shooting a handgun, you're supposed to have your I only got so much field of view for the camera, but you're supposed to have your arms like all the way out.
Right.
And
Yep.
shoulders out, leaning forward a little bit. This motherfucker is like this. Like, what are you
Limp
doing?
wristed. Limp wristed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
And look at that stance. Look at that stance. Like, what are you doing with that stance?
Exactly. Like, oh my God.
He looks like he's about to take a shit. I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck?
Like, oh my God, I'm about to fire a gun for the first time in my life.
I think anyone here who's fired a gun for the first time in their life had a better stance than that. What is this? What is this like technique? I think like the way his hands are is how like I mold dough when I'm about to make bread. Like
He looks like fucking dough.
he does look like dough.
Oh,
It's so
that
bad.
guy.
So bad, he does.
All right, we're a little over an hour. I don't know if is there anything else anyone wants to talk about?
I'm actually going to go shooting later today.
Oh, nice.
I have my boy Slade in the other room, who's been really nice and wonderful, patiently waiting for me. And he's going back to Connecticut on Monday. Big sad. But we're gonna go shoot some shit in Texas.
Nice. Best spot to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you're just like you just are on Twitter, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's like your only plug.
Well, yeah, it's Twitter and Facebook. I mean, like I have my consulting stuff, but anyone who knows me like knows how to find me or ask about it.
Right.
But we are definitely building like a community and a matchmaking service with my friend Rachel, and definitely want you involved. And
Yeah, that'd be fun.
yeah, it's not just it's not just like matchmaking. It's coursework for being a better individual, and part of that is arms training and shooting better, because you're not just a complete person if you find a partner, which is wonderful, right? Like we have to keep ascending and going into different spheres, like just imparting wisdom onto others and having wisdom imparted onto ourselves. So just build communities that way.
I like it.
Thanks. It was great to see you both.
Yeah, you
as well.
too. Flex, all your plugs are in the links, I think.
Yep.
Mine as well. All right. Thanks everyone who tuned in, and thanks again for coming on. And then we're good. Take us out, Paul.